Hello everybody and welcome back to today's video. Today I wanted to talk to you about, did the narcissist ever love you? So let's jump in. When you speak on did the narcissist ever love you, it would have to be no. But there are times when they need you because they need your supply. They are a people drug addict. They're a drug addict for validation, outside validation. To get that outside validation, they get it through people. To have power and control, to be able to get validated that they are receiving the answers that they want to hear. That's why they have people like flying monkeys and their family that they grew up in, and the ex-love partners, their harem. The people they keep around them are individuals that feed the mask, that feed their grandiosity, feed their needs. And if you don't feed their needs, then you're going to be obsolete from their circle. So they build this circle around them of individuals that is their walls from the outside world, so that everywhere that they go and things that they do, they will experience these individuals that are around them in these areas, that they will feed the mask what it wants. They come to you and they get you hooked. Part of the way they get you hooked is when they put you on this pedestal and they start to pamper you, tell you all these great things that you've never heard before in the love bomb phase. And when they do that, they get you hooked into repeating it back to them. And so that's how you get, to some degree, trained as it runs over your intuition on how to treat them. Of course, we know later on down the road, shortly thereafter, they will stop doing all of that. They will devalue you because they'll find out you're not perfect, and you will continue on feeding them. You will still pamper them, put them on a pedestal. You will still see great things that could be. You feed them all good thoughts while they breadcrumb you and ghost you and treat you bad. And then they leave you, and then you chase them. A lot of times in that devalue phase, they will push the note to the brink of you not being able to take anymore. You're giving them information on how much you can handle. You're showing them how much control they have over you. And so then they know to back off and to start breadcrumbing you with a little bit of warmth, a little bit of love. Or not love, but what we think is love. And then they go back to the hot and the cold and breadcrumbing. Even when they leave you or you discard them, you will probably answer calls as they check up on you, and they will still have you under that spell. We're talking about, in the very beginning, how does this happen? When they devalue you and discard you during that period in time, they really try to buckle you, knock you down to your knees. I mean, they tell you everything horrible that you are. If you say go no contact with them in that phase, they can't hear from you and you're not responding to them, to any of their hoovers, and then finally you do. Let's say they come to find you in person and they're able to break you down, hoover you back that way. They'll tell you how much they need you and how important you are in their life, and they'll have these, what they call fake epiphany. They're in a fantasy, and when you go into a relationship with them, what they're having you do as well is to go into that fantasy with them. Through all of that, putting you on a pedestal, pampering you in the very beginning, telling you all the great things you are, they get you to submit to them as you walk into their fantasy, and you're in that fantasy with them. When they come back to you, they have the ability to draw you right back into that fantasy, but they do it again the same way. I mean, they love bomb you again. They tell you how great you are again. Well, why is that? If they devalued you so hard in the very end. And it's because they re-idealized you, meaning if they were away from you for a while, they are in and out of their delusions and in and out of reality versus fantasy. So let's say they went through a couple of sources of supply and they came to the end of those, or they cycled out. then, and they become a failure at some point. Well, they want to come back to you, so they re-idealize you. They start to come back to reality in the sense that they see all the great things in you that they once saw in the very beginning, and how important you could be to their life if they can get you back because of all the good qualities. But when they do enter back into your life, get you back into that fantasy, and you go through the motions again, it takes you back into that fake reality, and you build them back up. When you build them back up, they get to a place of pride to where they get pompous, and they get to a place to where they've done it all themselves, and you are nothing but baggage, and they need to let you loose so that they can propel themselves. They start to, again, get heavily into that fantasy as you become weak again because they've sucked all your fuel dry. They're addicted to the fuel. They're addicted to the drug, the people drug, the energy they can get from you. It gives them a high. It makes them powerful. And as you start to run low on energy, or you start to question them, as you get more tired of dealing with the same old reoccurrent things as last time, it's like nothing's changed, but they made you feel and believe that things had changed with them, but they haven't. And so they leave you again, and they duped you again. But when they came back, you really believed them because they really believed it themselves. And this is the thing, when they're in fight or flight, or they're in that need for needing energy or needing fuel because they're fiending for supply and they don't have it, they will do anything and believe anything, believe even what they're telling you in the moment. But the thing is, they are a fiend. So a drug fiend would do the same thing. They would tell you anything. They would believe anything if they could just get that next hit. But when, say, you're the drug supplier and you run out of hits to give, like you have no more supply of drugs, or your drugs don't get them high anymore, then a drug fiend, no matter what allegiance they have to you, is going to leave you and find another drug dealer, someone that can supply their drug habit. And that's why in some cases they will re-idealize you, and in some cases they will then devalue and discard you, because they have to believe it. So when they leave you, they have to believe that you're all bad and you're all wrong and they're making the right decision, because they're delusional. So this is them in their delusions, because now they have to fill their needs, their drug habit. So when you start to question them is when they have a problem with you, because now you're rejecting the fantasy, you're questioning the fantasy, and the fantasy is the mask, and the mask is their God. That's where the devils work from, the demons work from the mask. That's where the demons are all about lustful behaviors. And so they get the narcissist to go seek out these lustful deeds. And, they get different things. When they're with you, they're fulfilling their lust of getting filled up in their grandiosity, and you telling them all the good things that they are, but they're not. And backing them up and supporting them. So it's showing they're operating correctly. The mask is looking good. It's shined up real nice. You're validating it. Then when they're devaluing and discarding you, they feel power and control over you. And then they come to stalk you and see that you're down and out. They know that they did that to you. That gives them power and control. Then when they cheat on you, they get adrenaline from it. And when they re-idealize you, they get power, control, and adrenaline from that, because they are convincing you, and all-powerful, almighty, being able to convince you and get you reeled back in when you were on the outs with them. So they jump to a new supply, and the new supply could even be a downgrade. Usually it is from the primary source supply. They may not be very good looking. They may not have a lot of the good qualities you have. They may not have anything that, if you were to place all the value on the table, they may not have any, even be in comparison. So you may scratch your head. Some say they do it to devalue you more. what really it is, they don't care. They don't care what a person has for value outside of the need, the drug need, the need for that they need to get filled up for, the lustful need and desire for fuel. You're just used as a tool for their desire. So if that individual has the ability to supply their needs greater than you, because now your fuel is run dry and you're questioning their false reality, their fantasy, then you're running out of fuel and you're questioning them and you're arguing with them. Well, you're already kind of filled up on their negative energy that they projected onto you anyway. And they're always running from that. They're running from that. They have to dump it on somebody. They fling it on people. And it's time to jump to another source. They don't care what they look like, who they are, or how old they are. But if that individual can supply their next needs, then that's where they're going to go. So they're just like a drug addict. They have no consistency with any individual in a relationship, because a drug fiend can't either. They're going to be completely inconsistent, and a lot of times they're not going to make sense outside of the drug. And they have many lustful desires. I mean, they're all lust. They have no good spirit man authority in there. They just chase their desires, and they don't care who they got to run over or what they got to do to reach them. They don't care. They're just chasing lustful desires. And that's why you're either all good or all bad. Because when it's time for them to jump to the next supply, when you don't have love and you don't have the fruits of the Spirit, or they're not tethered to you in love or any of those 9 aspects, nor do they have them. They have to faith them. And so when it's time to leave, they don't have to faith them anymore. You kind of can see the true reality of what you're getting. A lot of times it's just a reaction because they just want to get fed their desires, and you're blocking them. So you become all bad as they go to that other source of supply. And when they're really filled up on their fuel and they're getting fueled up, they will become very pompous. A lot of times a covert antisocial will turn into like an overt type. They'll be more overt about their abilities and their ways that they act towards you. They won't be as passive. They'll be more in your face with it. And a lot of times at that point, they look at you like life's just a game when they're fully fueled up. So they will do certain things and treat you certain ways just out of the control factor and to see what happens. Take things as a challenge, that it's just a game. And a lot of times when people are operating in life correctly and trying to live by moral, ethical values, they have, since childhood, they have decided that they are going to use any kind of deceit or deception. They're going to cheat and lie any way they can if it gets them to their goal by any means necessary. So they look at people with moral, ethical values as weak, because they could be using these other options, but because they choose not to use these other options, they are losing, or they're losing the battle with them in this particular moment. So a lot of times because we have moral, ethical values, we are not going to go down that road. But they have been trampling down that road their whole life. And you could see it by the pathways in their brain, how things are shut off, and they're using the quickest way to get things pathway, which would be lying, cheating, and stealing, and convincing people through deceit. So they have these lustful desires, and they have this ability to object constants, where you're out of sight, you're out of their mind when you're in a relationship with them, because they don't have the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, goodness, all these things. They have rejected them so much to where they're gone. They don't have the ability in their brain to understand those pathways anymore because they've been shut down. So they're all evil in a sense, if you want to get the truth of the matter is they become all evil, almost like a hybrid for the enemy's use now. And that's why when you're out of sight, you're out of their mind. They can go, and if they feel like cheating because somebody just, gassed them up and made them feel so awesome, they can go cheat on you and come back. And then they know that they've duped you and did that duper's delight, and they'll show you those smirks and things. These are things that they do. So to help you understand, that's maybe a piece that maybe you didn't completely understand. But when you go into a relationship with a narcissist, you get to a place where you consent to them. And when you do, they make themselves the center of your life, meaning your life revolves around their needs. And you're always thinking about them. They get you thinking about them all the time. And then you don't trust them, so you start thinking about what they're doing when they're not with you. And so they take your spirit man. It's like your relationship with God is put on hold. And your spirit man goes down into your ego, which is kind of like your false self, what they live off. And you start to become like them as they're giving you their negative energy, and you're giving them all your fruits and all your good positive energy through the love bombing. They run over your intuition. You start to trust them, and so you're losing your goodness because you're going into ego. So you start to lose your fruits of the spirit to some degree temporarily. And these are the fruits of the spirit are what protects you against evil and evildoers, because they are a standard that you hold against that. You hold value to those core beliefs and attributes that you hold dear to you. But when the narcissist comes in your life, they start to run out of you. And through the love bombing, it runs over your intuition, which is a defense as well. They bring you into the fake fantasy, and then they get control over you. Then you lose your love and your joy, and you trade it for things like confusion as you're devalued. And then you don't have rest like you used to, so you're trading in your patience and your peace because you don't have rest, because now you're ruminating. You've consented to a relationship with somebody that is housing demons, and you're teaming up with them. So you start to lose your fruit, your faith, and your hope go out the window. And they want you to deny yourself. And that's kind of what starts to happen. You start to move positions, accepting negative energy. You chase them, and you start to lose self-control, and you're not really gentle and kind anymore. You're kind of just on the chase to get them back, to convince them that that you are somebody different. So now you start to walk in your ego heavily, and you start to try to become what you think they would want you to be like. So you can get, if you don't watch it, you can get, down that path for a time, because you're now fueled up by their negative energy that they've tossed on you. And the Bible talks about evildoers being lovers of self. That's the narcissist. Lovers of money. That's the narcissist. Boastful, proud, and conceited. Abusive and brutal. Disobedient to parents. Ungrateful, unholy, sinful, rash, and treacherous. Without love and not lovers of good. Unforgiving. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. So this is what the Bible says. And they have a grandiose self-importance, preoccupied with power, success, and beauty. These are the traits of the narcissist. Entitlement can only be around important and special type people. They're arrogant. They lack empathy, must be admired. Envious of others and believe others are envious of them. Interpersonally exploitative for their own gain. This is the narcissist. These are their qualities. They're 10 fruits of negativity. They're rotten fruit. You got to understand that everything with the narcissist is temporary. They have self-sabotage built in because everything is temporary, because you cannot supply their drug need forever, and they follow their lusts and desires. They destroy everything living. Over time, you will find that they're just destroyers. They hate and they don't love. They can't love. They have no ability to anymore. the Bible would call them fools, and that they wouldn't be able to rest until they have devised evil for the day. And it talks in the Bible about discerning. They look towards wisdom. And if you have the ability to discern, to be able to hear this on my channel, then you ought to know that you should head towards wisdom and not destruction. So continue on your path. You will see the bad reaping, that they were liars and cheaters, and the word talks about that heavily. That the enemy is he's the liar. The narcissist is a test from God, to wake you up, to pull you out, to get you on a level that won't bring you back to these deceptive tricks of the enemy so you can level up. You're just a drug that won't get them high at some point. They go and search for more potent new drug supply. The experience is the drug. You. They get over you like you never existed because you chased them. When you chase somebody, they always know that they can get you back at any moment of the day, at any day of the week. So you're not really gone from their life. You are a drug supplier that is out of drug, so they must go to another drug dealer. You have to give up individuality and go into the fantasy. That's where you lose yourself and give them power and control over your life. Give them the authority and put them at a place that you should have never done. When waking, you pull out and rebel against the fantasy, and that's where the problem comes. They get over you because you never existed. They made you up in their fantasy. They made up who you are and what you were supposed to resemble. And at the end of the day, you fell in love with somebody who never existed either. And so that makes it hard for you to try to form your own closure, and to form your own closure from somebody who never even existed. It's like they're not only dead, but they never were, in fact, alive. So if you can give me a like, subscription, a thumbs up. Love y'all till next time. Soul Jet, peace, we out.